Okay, by the way, I also found out why I had the viewport error. It's because if I hit Shift P, the wall was actually laying flat on the grid. And when I was rendering it, I was rendering it from underneath. So it ended up looking like I was trying to render it from underground. So that's why I was getting the error. I went ahead and did a transpose move or transpose rotate, and I rotated the model so it was up 9 degrees. Also, it was a little high poly. It was I think 2.4 million polygons. Again, I thought it was time for, oh, you know what? We can do a decimation master on this, and we should be able to get it down very nicely. It's now about 494,000, almost 500,000. So we lost about 2 million polygons, and yet we're none the worse for wear. So that's fine. But anyway, this is the wall we're going to look to use. So we're going to scroll down, and we're going to copy our subtool. Let's go ahead and load tool, and we're going to load our Mausoleum file. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and use the arrow keys on my keyboard to drop down to the lowest subtool that's on my list. By the way, actually, I see this polysphere. We don't need this one. Let's go ahead and just hit delete. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and paste. So as you can see, there is our wall, right? It's in a nice situation. It's not too big, not too small, but obviously we need to scale it down, etc. Unfortunately, one of the things for recording purposes, you don't get to see the entire screen as I'm working on it. One of the buttons on the side that you cannot see is the transparency button. That's this one right here. Obviously, if you're following along, you can see it on yours, but unfortunately, I can't show you this for these recordings. But I am going to go ahead and turn on the transparency because that's what I'm going to use to line everything up as we need to. Okay, so transparency is on, so you can see through. Transparency will turn every subtool that is not active, that is not selective, in transparent, as you can see here. Right now I've got the stone wall selected, so everything else is transparent. But if I use my arrow keys, I can go up and you can see there's the roof with everything else transparent. The columns, the front columns with everything transparent. Back columns. The actual base for the mausoleum. Now everything else is transparent. It comes in handy, and it's one of those things that I like to use a lot. So the first thing I'm going to do, Shift P, I want to hide my grid. I also want to hit P so I'm out of perspective. All right, I want to go ahead, and I know I'm going to need 4 walls. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate our wall 4 times. I'm going to call one of them side 1. The next one I'll call side 2, because left or right, you know, it depends on whether you're looking into the mausoleum or looking out of. So it's easy to just call it sides. I'm going to rename this one back, and I will name this one front. So the front one is actually the one we're going to do last. So let's go ahead and work on this one right here. We're going to turn on the side 1. All right, there we go. I do not need the rest of these showing, so I'm just going to turn them off. All right, move action, so it's W. I'm just going to move this over. I'm not going to overlap all the way on this column. I'm going to get kind of close to it. By the way, I'm also going to scale this in a little bit because it's a little wide, in fairness. I'm going to go ahead and move this back over. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the mesh itself. Obviously, it's a little bit big. Let's go to our deformation. We're going to go ahead and pull down the size right off the bat, something like that. And then what I'll do is, again, a new action line. I'm going to just pull this back. Actually, let me turn on, I see my back columns are not on. Let's turn those on. There we go. But I can see what I'll need to do is I'm going to go ahead and scale this up a little bit. And then I'm just going to go ahead and move it down. There we go. I can see actually the only thing I really need to do if I'm lining up on this edge, I really only need to delete some of the stones up front here, really. So I could just go ahead and grab some of these, for instance. In fact, I'll even delete that one off, and I can delete that one. Go to geometry. We're going to go to modify topology and delete hidden. Why did we delete that? We aren't going to need it, so there's just no point having it. I'm going to have an action line on. Oops. Let's grab this here. Again, that's just masking, then inverting the mask and rotating it back. I just want to pull this back a little bit. And let's see. Oops. Meant to grab just that one. Invert the mask, move, and I want to go ahead and pull that back a little bit. We don't want it intersecting way past where we need it to be. Clear that. Okay, so let's take a gander. All right, so we haven't quite gotten the model, and we just, because we scaled down too on the deformation, it did adjust how we were positioned depth-wise. That looks good. I think I can do that. All right. And actually, since we've already got this now thinned up, it's exactly the way I want it to be. In fact, let's go ahead and I'm going to use my up and down key on my keyboard. I'm going to go ahead and delete the side 2 because we already technically have side 1 set up. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it and move it over. Because remember, we detailed both sides, well, all the sides of the bricks. So, you know, shouldn't waste any of that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move this forward. Something like that. And these two right here, I need to look at scaling in a little bit. There we go. Excellent. Yep, so that works very nicely. Let's go ahead and make sure we save our file up. Mausoleum 2. All right. We do have the rear, the back wall to do. So let's go ahead and rotate this around. Well, technically we already have a good front, good two sides. Well, okay, that's just practice. I don't mind. We're just going to go ahead and rotate this around. We're going to go ahead and we're going to scale the brick up a little bit, or I should say in a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and move it. I'm going to rotate around to the back side and snap it. Again, that's rotating it around, and then you hold your shift and then pull and snap. I'm going to go ahead and go to our deformation, and let's go ahead and size this down a little bit. Okay. And again, like we did before, I actually have to scale the bricks up a little and then move them down, something like that. All right, let's see which side we should move from here. Let's go ahead and if I move these here, oh, awesome, we can actually delete out all of this. So let's go ahead and grab this. I'm just deleting out, oops, I need that one back really quickly. There we go. I'm just deleting out all of those that are way into the pillar itself. We're just not going to need them. So, you know, might as well go ahead and delete them out. So delete hidden. And I will go ahead and just grab this one. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do a move on it. I'm just going to scale it in a little bit. Okay. Action, W. And let's go ahead and move this back. It's a little shallow. Let's pull it up more like that. There we go. Turn off the transparency really quickly. Let's do a P for perspective. Oh, I'm okay with that. That looks good. All right, let's go ahead and make sure we save this up, and we'll continue. All right, so our front wall is going to be a little bit different because we do have an actual hole in it, so we have to be cognizant of that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit P and then also get transparency back. All right, we're going to do a W, and we're going to scale this in a little bit, and then R, and rotate it around. There we go. All right, and back to W so we can move it over. All right, let's pull this back, W. I need to be able to see the door. Oh, still not quite seeing the door. There we go. All right, so let's first, of course, go for our deformation. We want to pull it down a little bit. Scale it down, I should say. So something like that. We're going to W, and we're going to pull this down, which of course makes the top scale up a little bit, but that's okay. Something like that. W. So let's take a look at, you can see we're not going to quite line up somewhere on this. We do want to try and make sure that we've got bricks where we need them. So I'm just going to move this over. Something like that. So I really don't need all of these here. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just Control Shift clicking on it. Okay. And we're going to go to, again, this is why you always make sure you use the combination of things. I'm going to delete that hidden. We don't need it anymore. We can go ahead and grab these. We need to be able to create a hole somewhere. So we can go ahead and delete that. All right, so now it's really just a matter of lining some of this stuff up. So let's get our first edge and get that lined up. I'm going to pull this over. That way we need to intersect on both of these columns, so we want to make sure that's there. All right, we're going to do the move, and we're going to pull this back. We need to pull it back to this this outer edge on the two lines. There's an interior line here, but we need this. We need the outer edge moved. It moved to the outer edge there. Okay, again, I'm just Control Shift clicking onto the next stone and then bringing that down. Control Shift. That way it makes it really easy, really quick. And I'm holding my Shift key too, by the way, while I'm moving. That way I'm getting a nice 100% move on the stone block. I'm going to just move that in there. Oh, that's already done. This one we're going to need to get rid of. I'm just going to pull that out there for now. And I will move that right there. And again, delete hidden. All right, so I think we're good there. Let's go ahead and now move this forward, W, and we're going to move this forward to a certain extent. So I'm off on one of these. There we go. Oh, I can see how some of this doesn't actually line up. I can see that quite clearly. Let's go ahead and do another move, and we're going to pull this back a bit. And again, we're going to move this a little forward. Let's see it over here. Oh, it's okay if it's a little bit. We want a few differences. It doesn't all have to be the same. All right, let's turn these transparency off. Okay, I think that'll work. Now what you can't see the front bricks only because we do have polygons there. Let's go ahead and make sure we save up. First off, I don't want to lose anything we might have already done. Let's go ahead and go to our top subtool. Okay, so we need only, right now, technically, we really only need to keep the stairs for shape and then the top. Shift F so we can see what's going on. So let's go ahead and just grab the tops. All right, let's go ahead and do this instead. This. Okay, I don't need Control Shift Alt. Yeah, that's good. We're just going to go ahead and Control W to go ahead and group all that. All right, Shift F. All right, so now we can see what's going on with the mausoleum. Okay, so now we have all 4 walls in. Great, let's go ahead and make sure we save again, just to be sure. We're just going to make sure we overwrite. Let's take a quick look at our door, because remember we had a door. So here's a, or this was the door. Yeah, this was a door that I made that was basically the same sort of stuff we did with the plaque, which was metal. This was a quick door. It was actually based on a real mausoleum door, something I enjoyed. Everything that we did for the plaque is exactly what I did on this, getting a little bit of texturing in there, some bolts and things like that. So we kept it simple. I didn't go really out there with it. I'm going to go ahead and now copy this. We're going to go back to our mausoleum, hit F so we can frame it, and now let's go ahead and using our arrow keys on our keyboard, we can go ahead and paste. Door worked right where we needed to. Great. Let's hit P just to see what's going on. Let's do a quick BPR render. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, I like it. I like it. That's great. That's great. All right, make sure you save up this file and we'll continue.